One small step or one giant scam. Grab your tinfoil hats and settle in. Today, we're doing a deep dive into the lunar dust. We aren't just skimming the surface, we're looking at the receipts, both the ones that look forged and the ones that seem bulletproof. The smoking gun gallery, why it looks faked. If you watch the footage with a skeptical eye, there are some glitches in the matrix that conspiracy theorists have pointed to for decades. 1. The studio lighting and shadow play. On the moon, there is only one light source, the sun. Therefore, all shadows should be perfectly parallel. However, in many Apollo photos, shadows move in different directions, as if there were multiple studio lights. Plus, why are the astronauts visible in the shadows? Without an atmosphere to scatter light, they should be pitch black. 2. The mystery of the waving flag. When Neil and Buzz plant the stars and stripes, the flag appears to ripple and wave. In a vacuum with no wind, it should hang limp. Skeptics say this looks like a draft in a soundstage. 3. The missing crater, the lunar module, weighed several tons and had a powerful descent engine. Yet, in the photos, there's no blast crater under the lander and no dust on the landing pads. It looks like it was just placed there by a crane. 4. The sea rock and crosshairs. There are photos where a rock clearly has the letter C engraved on it, resembling a Hollywood prop. Furthermore, the crosshairs, reticles on the cameras, sometimes appear to be behind the objects being photographed, suggesting the images were manipulated or laid in a lab. 5. The Van Allen belt. Between Earth and the Moon lies a massive field of high-energy radiation. Skeptics argue that the lead shielding required to protect the astronauts would have been too heavy to launch, meaning the crew would have been cooked before they even saw the moon. The science says counterpunch. Why it's real? NASA and the scientific community has spent years debunking these points, and their explanations are often grounded in simple physics. 1. Topography and reflective suits. Shadows aren't parallel because the moon isn't a flat floor, it's full of craters and hills that distort shadow angles. As for the bright shadows, the moon's surface is highly reflective, lunar regolith, and the astronauts were wearing bright white reflective suits. They were basically walking light bulbs. 2. The flag's physics. That flag was held up by a horizontal rod because NASA knew there was no wind. The waving you see is actually inertia. Because there's no air resistance to stop the fabric, it continues to vibrate for a long time after the astronauts stop touching it. 3. Engine thrust in a vacuum. On Earth, a jet engine creates a focused hole because of air pressure. In a vacuum, the exhaust gases spread out immediately in a wide cone. The pressure wasn't concentrated enough to dig a hole. It just blew away the top layer of fine dust. 4. The sea rock is a hair. High-resolution scans of the original film show that the sea was actually a tiny hair or piece of thread that got caught in the printing process. As for the crosshairs, high-intensity white light, like an astronaut's suit, can bleed over the thin black lines of the reticle, making them look like they are behind the object. 5. The laser-ranging retroreflector. This is the big one. The Apollo missions left behind specialized mirrors. To this day, observatories in Texas and France fire lasers at the moon, hit those specific mirrors, and measure the bounce back. You can't bounce a laser off a hoax. The verdict? When you look at the evidence, the fake arguments usually rely on how we expect things to look based on our life on Earth. But the moon is an alien environment with different rules. To fake it in 1969, you would have needed to invent CGI technology that didn't exist for another 30 years. However, the human element, the desire for a win during the Cold War, is a powerful motivator for suspicion. It's the ultimate he said, she said between the government and the skeptics. What do you think? Are you a believer who trusts the physics and the 400,000 workers involved, or a skeptic who thinks the shadows tell a darker story? Did we go to the moon, or did we just go to a studio in the desert?